Hi Bio20, this is video lesson 1 on 7.1 structures of the respiratory system. And I'm just going to go through the main parts of 7.1 with you, and you can either fill out your notes or you can make a study sheet from this information, which will be an assignment later on as you saw it was assigned for chapter 6 as well. So main functions here is that we're exchanging gases with the respiratory system, and that means oxygen is coming into the lungs and carbon dioxide is being removed out of the lungs, and at the same time that oxygen is being diffused into the bloodstream so that it can be carried to your cells of the body. The word inspiration and expiration, meaning breathing in and breathing out. And these stages slide does tell you that there's the external, where the blood is getting the oxygen removed and sending it out, whereas the internal is where the oxygen and carbon dioxide are being exchanged between the blood and the actual body cells. We've heard of cellular respiration a lot already, which is what that oxygen is being used for. And the respiratory tract diagram here, I'm pretty sure we discussed it before. School was closed, but these structures you should know that air can be sort of taken in through either the mouth or the nasal passage, and after that air is taken down into the trachea, and you do notice that there isn't an opening that goes towards the stomach through the esophagus as well. However, that epiglottis that closes it, I'll just change a different color here, that epiglottis is always open so that the air has free flow down into your trachea, because that air is going in and out all the time 24/7. However, if food is going down and you have a swallowing reflex, you can then close this epiglottis so that the food is only going to your stomach. If, however, you're trying to chew, swallow, and talk at the same time, this epiglottis can open and allow that food to go into your trachea and have the choking happening. So that's only because you shouldn't be trying to move air, which as you're talking, you're moving air out of your trachea. You shouldn't try talking at the same time as chewing and swallowing. Okay, so moving on, as that air goes down your trachea, it will be branching here into two bronchi, which then branch into tinier bronchioles, and they end as these little air sacs called alveoli, where the gas exchange actually happens. You do have two lungs, and you have a diaphragm muscle that's very important in helping the breathing process, as we'll see in a minute. Okay, big job of the nose and nasal cavity is three things: that it filters the air, basically cleans it with cilia and mucus, sticks on any dust particles, it moistens the air, and it warms the air. So it is preferred to use your nasal cavity to breathe in versus your mouth, which basically might warm the air but not do the other two things. So it is preferred that you're breathing through your nose if you can. Moving on, the turbinate bones here are inside your nasal cavity. Those bones are increasing the surface area, so there's more area that the air can flow around, and then it's easier to clean it and warm it and moisten it. This is a very cool picture of a piece of dust particle stuck in the nasal cilia. Just shows you how much it looks like a shag carpet and catches little dust before it goes into the lungs. The palate is just the roof of your mouth, and this is extra information. It wasn't in your notes, but you can read that. It talks about why there might be a gag reflex, and how snoring can be kind of because of that soft palate moving. And trachea is also, besides your nasal cavity, the trachea is covered with the cilia as well. And moving down to the trachea, we were talking about how there's the C-shaped cartilage in there to keep it sturdy so that air is always allowed that movement through there. One thing that is interesting is that it is a C because it leaves a space at the back for the esophagus to fill up as food is moving down the esophagus, and the bolus is moving down the esophagus. So that's why it's got a little space at the back. But in the front, you can feel your own trachea, and it feels like it's got the hard rings around it. The vocal cords are, if you feel the bump in your neck, which is your larynx, the vocal cords are located in there, and those vocal cords will vibrate as sounds are made, and they're different shapes and different people creating different voices. You guys can check out all the links for some really neat videos about vocal cords. So moving on to the lungs and how they're surrounded by pleural membranes. Many organs of the body have membranes around them. The heart has a pericardium, for example. Your lungs have a pleural membrane, and this is actually, there are two membranes, double layer, and one is attached to the lungs and one is attached to the thoracic cavity, and it will help because they're filled with fluid, it will prevent any friction from happening every time you breathe in and out. However, if you have pleurisy and an inflamed pleural membranes, then that would cause pain, as they would be sort of rubbing against each other as you're breathing. But those membranes help to resist that friction. You can see them here, and the fluid would be the yellow area. And then we're talking about alveoli in this slide, and those alveoli are surrounded by blood vessels so that the oxygen can be quickly diffused into the blood when you breathe in and carried away to the body, and the carbon dioxide can easily be diffused out and from the blood and into the alveoli, so you can exhale your carbon dioxide. This picture is just zooming in on how the lung has these alveoli bunches at the end of the bronchioles, and if you look at it even closer, you can see that the blood full of carbon dioxide is coming towards the alveoli, and the blood full of oxygen is traveling away and to the body. The surfactant or lipoprotein inside the alveoli keeps it from sticking or collapsing, so it would not be like so difficult to inhale if it was collapsing. So that lipoprotein is like a fatty material that makes it easy to inflate and breathe in every time. So that is a wrap for 7.1. There's a lot of great videos you can click links of and watch, and I will talk to you all soon.